Give me a second, I'm going to do a mic check. Okay, hopefully audio is good. If I'm going for a bit, the problem I have with my headphones, I really like them except for there's a mute button, and naturally the way that I like to put them on my head, I sometimes click the mute button. So hopefully I have not done that, and you can hear me just fine. Um, anyway, welcome everybody. This is Programming Algorithms 2. Okay, good. And I know there's a little buzz in there, and I wish I could do something about that, but um, maybe between this week and next week I'll figure that out. So welcome. This is Programming Algorithms 2. Um, there are two sections of you guys, so but this one broadcast, so this may actually push me into the next tier of Twitch streaming. So I'm looking. I'm one of those people who likes to get those kinds of feedback from these systems. Anyway, my name is Boyd Trollinger. If you saw a J Trollinger or a John Trollinger, that's me. John Boyd Trollinger. I go by my middle name. So some of you have been in class with me before. Apologies if you were hoping to get this class with one of the other instructors, but because of the online thing, we did a shuffle so that we'd put ourselves in sort of where we're strongest. Anyway, so welcome. Is it ABB Cube, Sloth, Asylum, Baby Doll, Cogset, Dice K, Elemental, Glazer, Hot Locomom, Jooms, Jordan, Marvelous, Sugam, Tap Daddy, and T Nash. So welcome all you guys, and if you're not logged in, Twitter, welcome to you as well. Those are just the people I can see in chat. So apologies up front. The first days, if you've had a college class before where we talk about the policies and procedures, I talk a lot, and it can be a little boring. So just bear with me while we go through the setup of the class. If you have had me in a class before, this is different because I used to use my own website, but because of the online thing, I've moved everything over into Canvas for the time being. So we're going to do a tour of the way I set up the class in Canvas, and then we should have time left that I can get you started on the first lab. Okay. And if you see me, I did an hour and a half earlier, so this is tea with honey in it, which I'm hoping will keep my voice going, so apologies. Hold on, I'm going to refresh the screen because it looks wrong. Okay, you're seeing the browser, I hope. Okay, so what we're looking at here, this is called Student View. So when I go into Canvas, I can sort of test out my materials by going into the Student View. So that big pink bar across the bottom is because I'm viewing this, the course website as theoretically you see it when you view the course website. So let's go through how I've set up my Canvas course. I know that every instructor is a little bit different. I hope that some of my choices make sense and help you keep track of what it is you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go for my class. Anyway, so my home page, there is an announcement which I'm going to come back to and tell you about that for this week, but let's hit the main part of the home page. So this is CSCI 21 Programming Algorithms 2. I'm Boyd Trollinger. So for your class, I will broadcast every Tuesday evening from 6 to 7. And then I'll sort of explain to you, for those of you who signed up for the Tuesday-Thursday class, how we're also going to do something during your time as well. But the main lecture broadcast will be once a week, Tuesday nights from 6 to 7 p.m., which aligns with the evening section of CSCI 21. So I'm doing that to hopefully sort of provide a balance between making this accessible for live viewing for some people. But whenever I do a broadcast or make a video, I will record all these things and make them available on my website. So if you can't be here, if you're watching this later, it will always be true that the video content I make will get posted where you can get to it later. Okay, so if you're here, you're already seeing me on Twitch. The other ways that you can see me face to face for Programming Algorithms 2, the ConferZoom link on the left is a way for you to book sort of one-on-one office hour type meetings with me using the Zoom video chat software. So I've set up a number of 15-minute blocks is how it defaults during the week. So if you need or would like to give me a chance to get to know you, or if you have questions, you can use the ConferZoom tool and book yourself a meeting. If you don't see any times that work for you in ConferZoom, you can use the Canvas inbox to send me a message and we'll make a separate arrangement. That's what all that stuff at the top is about. The other thing I've included on the home page is a schedule for the semester, because I want it to be very easy for you to find in any given week where should I go and what should I be looking at. So the whole semester is laid out here in this table. Week by week, it's got all the topics, the chapters in our online book, which is a zybook. If you've had April, you may have used a zybook before, and links to the modules. And if you've done a Canvas course, then you know that modules are the way that material is organized in Canvas. The highlighted rows, if you joined the chat, welcome. There's a lot of names there, and I'm going to lose track of who I've said hello to. So hello to everybody in the chat. Thanks for being here. That's probably my biggest crew ever, which I know it's not that impressive, but I'm an old guy on Twitch, so I'm not doing so bad. The green rows, or the highlighted rows, those are long-term items that I want you to be aware of when they're coming up, and those are the projects. So the first project, which is one that you will complete individually, is due on October 4th. So the green, or what looks like green to me, rows are there as reminders for sort of the big things like projects. So that's the home page, and I'll just go down the links and we'll talk about them. So you have an announcement, and the announcement is that for your class, every Thursday from 11 to 12, which may work for some of you who signed up for the day session, for your class I will do just a sort of a live discussion group. I'm not going to record it, but it's a time when you can drop in and join the group, ask questions, answer questions, get to know each other. Hello, Damien. Anyway, so our first drop-in Zoom session, where as many people as want to can drop in, is this Thursday, I think. Let's click that link and see if I am saying that right. Yeah, this Thursday from 11 to 12. And for your class, pretty much every Thursday from 11 to 12, I will jump onto Zoom and wait to see if anyone wants to join me and talk or ask questions. But I won't be recording those because it won't be new content. It will just be responding to your questions. So that's the announcement stuff. And every week for your class, I'll repeat this announcement to remind you that Thursdays I'll be available for sort of a drop-in lab time or discussion time. The modules. So the modules is how I organize the content for the course. The first week is a little bit different because there's an orientation module plus the first week's sort of real content module. Once you get to week 1 and beyond, every week's modules look exactly the same. There's a goals, a readings, a lab assignment, a discussion prompt, and then reminders about long-term projects. How far have I gotten for your class? 4 weeks. Your class is probably going to see all of your content loaded up possibly by the end of this week, but you're going to see a lot of content go up. I just today finished designing the 2 team projects, so that will let me load up a whole bunch of new content. The one thing I'll point out to you while we're here about the modules, they don't link to each other, so you don't have to complete week 1 to do week 2. The only thing you have to do to get into the content modules, week 1 and beyond, is complete the orientation part. That's just so I can guarantee that you are aware of the basic policies of the class. But there's no, these aren't locked, so if you want to complete modules ahead of time, you can do that. You can just race ahead as far as you want in the semester once I get the content loaded up. Confer Zoom. So I'm going to click on it. When I'm using this testing student view, I can't actually, it doesn't work. But if you were to click on Confer Zoom, what you would see in your view is a calendar here and available appointment times if you want to do a one-on-one sort of office hour type of meeting. So that's what the Confer Zoom page is about. The guides page, I think I've actually done all of the guides for your class that I'm going to do, but these are kind of how-tos, and you'll see one when I dive into the week 1 module. But these guides are here so that if you forget how do I even start a project, or what if I want to add a new file to one of my programming projects, I've created several how-tos. They have screen captures that are labeled, and they have a series of steps that sort of tell you what to do in order. So we'll look at one of those or two of those in a little bit. That's what the guides are for. I think I, at this point, have finished all of them, but if I end up making new guides, they'll appear on this page. I made this page just because I thought it might be helpful to you if you don't want to go digging around in modules to find how do I do something, that I separated those out. The videos page. So what I'll do with the videos page is, at the end of today, for example, I'm broadcasting on Twitch. I will export the video over to YouTube, and then from there I actually download it and then re-upload it to a captioning service. So there's a lot of steps involved, but basically once a broadcast is done, I will make the videos available to you, and every time that I post a video I will add an entry on this videos page that tells you the date I made the video, the topics that were discussed in the video, and then a link to the ADA compliant captioning service form of the video, and a link to the YouTube video. Thanks, Tyler. That's hopefully. I haven't used Canvas full on like this before, so I will probably discover things that I can do to be more helpful or more smooth as we go. Okay, so there's going to be 2 links to the video, and the reason I'm doing that is because the ADA captioning service has a potentially long delay before they actually get around to laying the captions on the video. So if the video that you click for ADA captioning doesn't have captions yet, you can go to YouTube, and at least in the short term, YouTube has technology that puts decent captioning even though it's not ADA compliant. So that's why the 2 links, is because I didn't want there to be no captioning if you rely on captioning while we wait for the service to do their job. They were doing it for just, maybe several dozen California community college teachers before last spring, and now they're doing it for thousands of teachers on 115 community college campuses. So I would bet that they're overwhelmed. Okay, that's the videos page. So there will be an entry today. Grades, you know what that's going to be. It'll show your grades. The syllabus, so now we'll talk about the actual course and what's going to go on in it. And then from there, sorry, getting a sore back. After we go through the syllabus, then we will go over and start looking at the modules for this week. If you're in chat, feel free to ask questions, and I will repeat those questions for people watching the video later, and get them answered. So don't be shy about asking questions if you have one. All right. So if you've had me before, then the new routine, I'm using all Canvas anymore. So you'll see links to the Canvas inbox if you want to contact me directly. This is Programming and Algorithms 2. So we assume that you've taken Programming and Algorithms 1, but because of the fact that we teach our first semester in the Go language anymore at Butte College, the first few weeks of the semester I do sort of a C++ boot camp to get everyone up to speed on C++ syntax. So whatever language you had in Programming Algorithms 1, the first few weeks I'm going to help you get up to speed in C++ and also get you accustomed to my style of programming in C++. Probably now that you've had a semester of programming under your belt, you also have your own style and you sort of recognize the difference between your style and other people's programming style. So that's also part of what the first few weeks is about, so you get used to the way I write code. Okay, so this is a software engineering course. This course description is from the state's curriculum, but it is what we do. So you can read that if you want to. It's whoever wrote this wanted to use fancy words. Although I do got to tell you, I like the term software engineering because it sounds cool. Student learning outcomes, you've probably seen those before as well. So in theory, if you are successful in the course, you should walk away having been exposed to all these things and developing skills around all these issues. And then finally, the things that are, to me, the most important is, like, what do you need and what are we going to do? So the course materials is the what you need part. I apologize that this is going to cost money, but the online thing has just made it very difficult. And I want to be absolutely certain that everyone has access to the same quality of information. So we're going to use a iBook, which will require that you create an account. This code is so that you access the book that I have put together for this class, and it's going to cost money, and I apologize about that. If you are in a position where you can ask for reimbursement for that, the bookstore tells me that you can request reimbursement for the subscription fee for the book. So sorry about that, but it was the best way to get us all on the same page and guarantee that you had good quality material. So the question is, do we need the book this week or can it wait a week? So officially, I have you reading the first 2 chapters of the book this week. So if you don't have access to the book this week, you will probably have to do some web research to fill in those holes. Now, if you already know some C++, you may not need to do that, and you could probably put it off for a week. But if you can't arrange to get the subscription this week, then sort of expect that you'll probably need to go do some Google research around the topics that we're covering. So probably that'll be all right. So the other 2 things you need are free. So you need a Replit account, and again, this is a consequence of the course being online. I wanted to make it easy for us to all have the same platform and easy for you to submit your assignments. So we're going to use Replit. There's a downside to that, which I'll talk about later in the semester, because we won't get to use makefiles. If you've never heard of a makefile, you'll hear of those later in the semester, but Replit means that we can't use makefiles, which I would like you to have that experience. So we'll try to figure out how to get you that experience in spite of Replit later in the semester. But anyway, Replit is where we'll do all the programming work. Piazza is a programmer-oriented discussion board, so you can paste code in there and it highlights it, and it's a lot more fully featured than the Canvas discussion boards are. So that's what we're using for discussion. Hopefully, some of you will take advantage of Piazza and actually post questions, answer questions, interact with each other in there. I very, very much encourage all of you to put a question out there if you have one, and if you think you have an answer, then put an answer. No one's grading you in Piazza other than the fact that you are actually contributing in some way. Okay, so that's what you need. The course requirements section is the what do we do. So here's what we do, or another way to say that is where the points come from. Uh, there is one quiz at the very start of the semester. It's the orientation quiz. When you get to it, you will see that you can repeat it as many times as you want to. So if you submit it, you miss a question, and you want to get full credit, go back and redo it. You can redo it as many times as you want. The point is just to make sure that you've sort of communicated to me by completing the quiz that you are aware of the major course policies. Lab assignments. So this is sort of one of the biggest parts of the course. We do a lab every week. They tend to be smaller. Hopefully that will seem that way. Programming challenges that you'll do once a week to exercise some skill or technique. That's a good question. So Lil Peeper asks, do I get onto Piazza and answer questions, or is it mostly you guys? No, I go into Piazza every day and look at the posts as well. And there's a feature in there where if I see a really, like, oh, this is the perfect answer, I can actually flag it, and you will see in Piazza that it says the instructor approves of this answer. So I will be reading the boards and responding to your posts and sort of upvoting good answers and things like that. So yes. Okay, lab assignments, one a week. We have one this week, so you immediately get exposed to what those are like. Discussion. This is meant to replace the fact that we would have normally been together in class for 5 hours a week where we could interact with each other, help each other, work together. Since we don't have that live time, we're going to do our best to make a robust discussion board. So every week I will give you a discussion prompt and ask you to go into Piazza and make a contribution in the hopes that eventually you might actually develop the habit of really using it. Yeah, I've been making, does it say Monday? So there's a question. Okay, so if there's a mistake on question 9, darn it, I bet you I changed that and messed that up. So I'm told there's a mistake on question 9 on the quiz. So if you have not taken the quiz, give me an hour after class to go in and fix this. If you have taken the quiz, I will go update your score to recredit you with any points that you lost for that mistake in the quiz. So thanks for letting me know about that. By the way, I made that problem in every one of my classes. So for some reason, I'm just all crazy confused about when I'm doing broadcasts and made that same mistake in all of my sections. And I even went and checked this section, I thought earlier today, but still had the mistake. So I'll fix that, and if you've already taken the quiz, I will update your score. If you haven't taken the quiz, please wait until later this evening, like give me until about 8 p.m. to get that fixed. Okay, what do we do? The one quiz, the lab assignments once per week, the discussions once per week. Okay, individual projects. So these are the biggest of the big deals in the class. There's 4 of them, and it's expected that it should take you multiple weeks. You're given multiple weeks to work on them, about 1 per month. And these individual projects are where we're drawing together the big ideas of the course into one application. So there's 4 of those, and they're worth a fair amount of points. We also will have 2 team projects, which I actually implemented my versions of those today. So the way I develop projects is I have an idea and I go write it, and then I decide if it's too easy or too complicated, and I make adjustments to it until I feel like it's appropriate for your use. So I have those ready to go, but there will be 2 team projects. You'll hear about those in a couple of weeks when we're about ready to spin those up. Yes, so there's a question about my other live streams, and yes, so Monday morning I do my assembly class, and Tuesday morning I do my Linux class, and then Tuesday night I do the programming algorithms 2. And on all 3 quizzes I got the days and or times wrong. Okay, so team projects. That's the stuff we do, and you're going to see how the points come together here in a sec. Course policy, so Just like a face-to-face class, most of us faculty, if you disappear for 2 weeks and I have heard nothing and received no submissions from you, you'll be dropped from the course. So just keep that in mind. It's it's just the what we're recommended to do is to monitor your activity, and if you become inactive, to drop you from the course. Um, we do have an anti-plagiarism policy. Uh, that one's tricky in a programming class because I encourage you to help each other. But the idea is, you're all grown ups, so you know if you've done the work for yourself and got some help, or you just copied and pasted someone else's stuff and sent the whole thing over to me. So do your own work, except for the team projects, where of course you are required to work together. Um, but also you can help each other, and it's not that big a deal if you have a little bit of something that someone helped you with. I don't accept anything late. And Canvas is going to enforce this. So when the due date and time arrive in Canvas, the assignment will disappear from Canvas. Now I do have a way to give you a little bit of wiggle room with that, which I'll show you in a second, but just keep that in mind. I don't accept anything late. It's just has never worked when I have tried to give people space to turn things in late. It just means more people turn in things late, and then they get behind, and I've hurt them as much as anything. No, technically, if you finish everything, you'll have team projects, but if you finish everything and it's just sitting there already, then technically no, you don't have to check in. So all the content will be open and available to you to finish at your own pace. And as long as I have those submissions from you when I go in and grade every week, then you're participating. Okay, so here's how the grades break down. The one quiz, which is really just to make sure that you've looked through the course policies. I want you to take note of labs and discussions. So there are 17 weekly modules, or there will be 17 weekly modules. But I'm only going to keep the best 15 of your labs and the best 15 of your discussions, which means that if you have 2 weeks of either of those things that you just don't do, or you only get partial credit, and everything else you get full credit, then your lowest 2 scores get dropped. So I don't take late work, but I do give you a little bit of wiggle room in terms of dropping the lowest 2 labs and discussions. Note the weight of the individual projects is pretty high, because that's, to me, the critical experience and the way that most critically you show that you've learned the material. Mastered it is by completing the project. So there are 4 of them. They're 500 points a pop. And then the 2 team projects, which are less points, because that's a lot more about the experience of having your code interact with other people's code than punishing you because you had a teammate kind of drop the ball on you. Okay, that's the syllabus. And I'm doing pretty good on time because I want to go look at I want to dive into the modules. But I'm going to hit pause, sit here for a second or two, and just see if any questions come across. Before we sort of walk through the orientation module and then the week 1 module. Both of those are this week. Okay. So there's 2 ways to get at the modules. You can go to the home page and click on the modules week by week by week. Or you can go to the modules link and click on the module that you want. Uh-oh. Stream is frozen. It might be a high traffic time for Twitch. Okay. So let's see, there's a question. Okay, so someone asked, am I checking up on whether or not you're doing the reading? No, I'm not. So the reading is there as an aid to you. If you already know the material, then you might be able to get away with not reading it. But I do expect that if I give you a reading that I don't have to recover all that same material during the broadcast. So during the broadcast in a typical week, I'm going to select out critical pieces of the material and focus on those, assuming that you're using the online book to fill in the rest of the gaps. So there's a question about, do I use any of the quizzing features or anything in zyBooks, and I don't. So I don't use any of the tracking features in zyBooks. There are lots of interactive things for you to do that you can sort of see how you're going through it, but I don't go in there and check on you to see if you read the book. So that's the answer to that question. But I do expect that you have seen that material because it's there and assigned to read. So I don't go recover the same material. I focus on specific things. Okay. So 2 ways to get to the modules, either from the home page for a given week or through the modules link. The thing to, well, you'll see that right here in a second. So every week, all of the assignments every week are due on Sunday before midnight. So this week of August 24th is an example. Sunday is August 30th, and everything for week 0 and week 1 is due before midnight on August 30th. And the same thing for next week. That starts on Monday, August 31st, and everything for week 2 is due before midnight on Sunday, September 6th. So let's go look at week 0. I'm going to go through this one pretty quick. This one's a little bit different because it's an orientation module, but what will happen when you go into the orientation module is that you will see a lot of the same stuff that I just talked about in this video. I introduce myself. I talk a little bit in here about why I think this course, and particularly why do we use C++ in this course when there's so many languages. And there's going to be times when you love it, C++, and times where you think, I wish I could go back to the Go language or Python or whatever. But it's a language that you need to learn if you're a computer scientist. So, but anyway, that's all that is a discussion really about what this course is about and why C++. A discussion about the book and REPL it. But anyway, the orientation module really is just a text form of what it is I'm doing on this video, although I hope you will read it because I took time to write it. The second page, I did a next, but the second page of the orientation module is describing what the links to the left do, which again is kind of what I was discussing in this video. So where does the home page take you and what's on it? Where does the announcements page take you and what's on it? All of those links, and then the Canvas navigation links are the ones in the gray bar on the left. The inbox is where if you need to contact me directly, you'll go there. I will give you sort of what I think is a pro tip about Canvas. The Canvas help is unpleasant to search. You'll get a lot better results if you go to Google and type the word Canvas followed by the question that you want to know about Canvas. Google will probably direct you straight to the place that has your answer. But if you want to try, the help is there for general Canvas type questions. What's the next page in there? Keys to success. So these are things that I've culled from other instructors who teach online. Things to sort of call your attention to as you start out the semester online. One thing to remember is that we are replacing 5 hours of in-class time plus homework and project and lab time. We're replacing a lot of hours of work with the fully online thing, and I'm only broadcasting for in terms of lecture for an hour a week. So until you get a good feel for the rhythm of the class and how much time it's going to take you, please leave yourself a lot of time before the deadline on Sunday night to finish the work, right? If you sit down at 11 p.m. on Sunday, you're gambling that you're not going to get through that week's material. So I would recommend that you work way earlier than Sunday afternoon or evening for a while until you're very certain about how much time the work's going to take you. Heads up about reading. It's an online course, so a lot of the material that you would hear in a lecture is going to be in text, so you're going to end up doing more reading than you would typically probably do in a face-to-face course. Alright, I'm about to refresh my Twitch screen because mine looks a little bit frozen as well. I'm going to lose the chat as I do that, but I've responded to everything in the chat so far. Okay, for me that brought it back to life. Okay, so we were talking about the reading. Self-discipline and self-motivation. This is hard for all of us, myself included, in this online format. We don't have sort of the energy that we can draw from other people being there, sharing in the same experience. So you spend a lot more time on your own doing the work. But just keep that in mind. You sort of have to have some self-discipline, and sometimes you're going to have to drum up some motivation for yourself to push through certain parts of the class. And then the last thing is every opportunity you can to take to participate, please do so. If you can make the live Twitch streams, for example, then it's great if you put things in chat. Then when you have questions, and then I can answer them and share them in the video. Hopefully, at least some of you will take advantage of Piazza and learn to use it and actually leverage that tool to interact with your classmates and me. But really, these are just some food for thought about being successful in an online course. What's after that? How this course works. So I just covered this. This tells you the kinds of work that we do, when it's, how much of it, those kinds of things. A reminder that I don't accept late work, but I do accept partial work. So if you haven't quite finished something, but it's working, just not has all the features that we're supposed to have, you can turn things in for partial credit. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. See a reminder about the live broadcast, which is Tuesdays. I'll fix that in the quiz when we get done. I will later in the semester have some pre-recorded walkthroughs to help you with some of the labs, so you will see some extra videos come up at some point that are not being live broadcast but that were pre-recorded. Videos page, and then communication. So Piazza, if you can use it, I'll check it a lot, and I know from experience with some of you who are in this class that you're good about participating in chat. Yes. So the question is, does it have to compile and run for partial credit? And the answer is yes. I'll show you on the first lab that I'll have that requirement on every lab, that if it won't compile and run, then we won't evaluate it. It's a good skill to have, though, to sort of get your code to some place where it actually compiles. All right, Piazza, the Canvas inbox, and then what follows that, the broken quiz probably. Yeah, so I will fix question 9. I'll point out to you that there's no time limit on this quiz, and it has unlimited attempts. If you've already done the quiz, I will fix your score. If you haven't done the quiz, please wait until after 8 p.m. tonight so I can go fix that question and make it correct. Okay, so that's the orientation module. Now we're about to move over into a real content module, the week 1 module. There's 2 ways to get to it from here. If you click next here, it takes you to whatever comes next, which would be the first piece of week 1. I'm going to go to the modules page and get at it from there. But you could also get at it from the home page, remember. All right, so week 1. Let's just look at what week 1 entails. So every week there will be this very brief page about sort of what are the overarching goals for the week. This week's goals are to get your accounts created, a Piazza account and a Replit account so you could do programming, and then the sort of overarching goals for the lab activity, which in this case is how do you create a Replit project, and then reviewing some basic programming concepts like creating variables, doing input and output operations, and performing arithmetic. That's the goals for the week, but that's just there to tell you everything that we are doing that follows is about these things, basically. So the point one item every week will be the assigned readings. This week there's 2 chapters in zyBooks. So if you don't have access and don't think you can have access to zyBooks, the goals and objectives kind of told you what we're doing, which is mostly input and output statements, variables, and arithmetic in C++. And remember, this is kind of a quick review of the basic syntax, particularly for people who either have been away from C++ for a while or haven't done C++ yet. This lecture piece, so this video will go in here hopefully tonight before I go to bed. You will see the video embedded in this page. So every week it's going to say coming soon at first, and then once I've done the live broadcast, then I will embed the video into the lecture. There will be no participation points. Correct. So someone asked, is there any kind of scoring associated with whether or not you do the reading, and the answer is no. I'm not checking up on you to see if you actually went into zyBooks and did the reading. The lab will suss out whether or not you learn the material. Okay. That becomes more important later in the semester, by the way. There's a point where we start talking about data structures that I think zyBooks does a better job than you're likely to find by doing a Google search. But for the short term, expect that if you don't have access to the zyBook, that Google research will probably be what you'll have to use. Okay, so the lecture video will be embedded in there sometime tonight before I go to bed. Alright, so here's the lab. The labs are all structured this way. There'll be a description, like what's the point of it, and then a set of detailed instructions. Sometimes these, as you get more experience, these instructions might be slightly less detailed because I think that you probably by then know the procedure. But for now, the instructions are pretty detailed. And then below that are the requirements. So this tells you especially, like when we go to evaluate your work, what are we looking for? You're always going to see this semester. If your submission is not compiling, then you'll get a 0 for the assignment because you can't evaluate it in a non-functional state. And then where the points come from. So there will always be a small amount of points associated with whether or not you went and touched the documentation, whether or not you're actually making nice looking code. I've seen a couple of submissions already that aren't that would be losing those 5 points. So I'll point out to you when I do a little bit of sort of getting you started on the first lab, what I think is good style. And then finally, on the first lab, there's a whole bunch of comments in it that are numbered, and they ask you to do stuff, and then we'll score you against those. The last step of a lab is submitting it. So what you will do is you will paste the URL for your REPL project into the lab submission and submit it. There's instructions for that. One thing I'll tell you about the submitting the lab, all you're really submitting is a link to the lab, so you can actually go update the lab after you've done a submission. As long as you're updating it before we go to grade it, we're just going to click the link. It's going to take us to your project and REPL it, and we're going to see whatever state it's in at the moment we arrive to grade it. So you can kind of think of that as if I submit the lab and then I discover later that something's wrong with it, if you submitted the lab early, you have time to go into your REPL and fix it so that when we follow that link, we land on a project that's functional. So that's sort of how that would cover you for multiple submissions. If you create a new REPL and you need a new URL, then you can always resubmit the new REPL URL before the deadline. So it's sort of multiple submissions. I'm going to come back to this lab. I'm going to step through and just look at the remaining pieces. So the discussion prompt this week includes a reminder to create a Piazza account. And these links should be taking you, that's going to the wrong place. Those are both going to the wrong place. I need to fix those. Yeah, they're going to the assembly class, wrong place. That's irritating. Anyway, I need to fix those as well. I'm generating a lot of content right now, so apologies for the mistakes. Anyway, this is a typical discussion prompt. It'll ask you to go into the class Piazza page and respond to a prompt. Correct. So the question is, if you submit a link, it's not going to be graded until the due date. That's correct. Yeah, so usually we're going to go in on Monday morning and grade the labs. In theory, yeah. And so Little Peeper says most of us should be able to figure it out if you're in computer science, and it's actually a good point because that is a big part of our job is figuring out, is solving problems and figuring out puzzles on computers. So, yes, indeed, problem solving it's like the big part of it. But if you see a mistake, like I'm seeing one right here, so I have this and question 9 to fix, please let me know. These I need to fix, which I desperately want to go. I'm going to go fix that right now. So you're going to see the instructor view. Let me go fix this discussion prompt so that it's going to the right place. The quiz, I'm not going to do that. That takes a little bit longer to do. Okay, so there is the fixed Piazza discussion. Is it? Yeah. No, there's no mandatory attendance. So the team projects, they're going to require some coordination between the team members. And I'll be creating groups for you in Canvas so you can communicate through the Canvas tools, or you can use Piazza for that. But there's no mandatory attendance time. I record this live broadcast, so if you like sort of getting it live and being able to ask questions in chat, you can attend. If you don't attend, the video will be available later. The only sort of scheduled live time that we can all get together in terms of the class will be Thursdays from 11 to 12, which would have been the Thursday section's lecture meeting time. So there will be that time. Otherwise, we'll use the tools in Piazza or the group tools inside of Canvas to do group work. All right, so the last thing each week is reminders. And these are here just to gut check you a little bit. So did I finish this week's work? And then if there's something long-term coming up, like the first project, then that'll be linked in the reminders. You can also get to the project links on the home page. And I was just working on week 4 needs the team project to link in, which I'm about to finish. Anyway, let me go back. I'm not in the student view anymore. To the lab. So I didn't leave that much time to do the lab, but let's get started on it. So you're going to see me grab a couple of extra tabs here. So I'm going to click on Replit, which for me, I'm not signed in, but let me sign in. Oh man, is it going to do two-factor? Okay. Sorry, be right back. I have to do two-factor authentication. There's no test or final. So you probably missed that section where we were talking about what we do in the course. There's no tests. So apologies. If you need a break for a minute or two, I have to go get my phone because, as you can see on the screen, Replit is going to make me log in. So be right back and get myself logged in. Okay, sorry about that. I had that two-factor authentication. So there's some questions about tests. So if you're here, you'll see this again when you read through the orientation module. There's no tests. There's one quiz in the orientation module. Everything else is programming work. We do labs every week. There are discussion prompts to talk about programming, and then there's a variety of project types. I'm not a big believer in tests unless you're training people to pass a certification test, then they make sense. But I don't think Google's given people tests who are developers for them. So that's my opinion, but I don't bother with them. Okay. So my Replit going to look a little bit different from yours because I've used it for a while, but yours will start to look like this. There's two ways. So every time you sit down for a new lab or a new project, you're going to create a new REPL. And there's two ways to do it. If you are just getting started in Replit, then this blue plus in the top right will let you create a new REPL. Or once you've been going for a while, then it might offer you these sort of quick access so you can see the languages that I work in a lot. Replit will remember what languages you work in and give you quick access to creating a REPL. But I'll create it this way to get us started on Lab 1. So when you click on a new REPL, I'm going to create a new REPL. You're going to pick a language. So you may have to scroll down to find C++ until Replit realizes that you use C++ a lot. So again, you'll see that mine are a little bit different in terms of what it is that I use a lot, REPLs for a lot. So I want a C++ REPL for this class. And it will give you funky names. But I'm going to call mine week 1 lab 1. It's wise if you name these so that, because you're going to need to send these links to me. I think I actually asked that you call yours lab 1, but I feel like I might have already used the lab. I did use the lab 1 name. So mine's going to be a little bit different so that they don't collide in the name. So anyway, choose the language, give it a name that you will remember is helpful. Unless you're paying them money, it's going to be a public REPL. Oh, they don't like the underscore. And in the last few minutes, I'm just going to give you a little bit of starter. Okay. So when you're setting up a Replit account, it'll ask you what languages you want to feature. All right, so that's cool. I'd forgotten that detail. Okay, so when you create a new REPL, it'll look like this. I have changed the settings. I think the default settings. There's this gear over here. I like the stacked layout, but you could do the side-by-side layout. I just happen to prefer the stacked layout. But you can change the theme. I like the light one. You can change the font size. Most other things I don't think you'd probably bother with. But you can change the settings, and then to make that bar go away, you just click on it again. We're not going to do version control. But if you want to do version control, of course you can. But to get the file view back, you can click on this files link. So every Replit will always have a main.cpp. That's the way it's designed to work. Okay, so the first thing I would do is just click run, just to get accustomed to it. And what should happen is that Hello World should print in the terminal below. So you'll see down there below that the terminal printed. Yeah, so someone pointed that out. If you don't like the name of your REPL, you can come up here where your name is, and there's a little arrow up here. You can click that, and then you can actually rename the REPL. And if you want to, you can actually put a description on it. And then I'm just going to click off of it because I'm going to leave that name. So good point. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, so that's that. The REPL's running. I'm going to go back to the lab assignment. Uh, so did that. Did that. Step 2, we experimented with the settings. So now step 4 says go grab some other code. So there are instructions for doing this, and I'm going to do it kind of fast because I'm running out of time here. But if you click this link, you'll go to my GitHub for this class and the source code. So this is all the code to get you started on the first lab. Not all labs will give you code, but most of them will. And you want to get all this code, copy it and paste it. But I'll show you, and the instructions show you this as well. I find it a little bit faster actually to click on this raw button here. And then I use Control A to select everything. And then Control C to copy. This is all on the instructions or the guide for this. Control C to copy. And then I go back to my Replit tab and I get rid of all this crud in main. And the guide shows this as well. And then Control V to paste, and now you've got the lab code in here. Which is not going to do anything anymore because it's totally empty. Okay, so there's that. It's 5 points, so it's worth your while probably to not sort of give up 5 points by not filling out the documentation. So you put a name for the assignment on there, you put your name in there, and then the date that you made it. Let's see. Prompt for and read in. So Little Peeper's asking about prompt for and read in. So this is not meant to be snarky at all. I'm going to show you, but also if just to sort of get you in the habit, if you don't understand a term, you can often do a search in Google. So I would usually put C++ in my search, and I'd say prompt for input, and see if I have any luck. Like what does a prompt mean? So I'm going to show you, and this is probably a bad example, but if you see a term in there and you're working on your own, just try to use the words in a Google search and see if it doesn't sort of help you out. But I'll show you. Prompt, by the way, means what it means. You ask for something. Like I'm prompting you for a thing. Now I'm going to code it, but just so you know. I think most of you have figured this stuff out. So if you comment in, if you put that there, then you don't have to put std : on stuff or std : c in. Okay, so I'm going to go down to probably just this far, and then I'll stop. Print a greeting. So in C++, which chapter 1 will tell you, so notice I don't have to put td : anymore, and that's because of this using thing right here. But I commented that up pretty heavily so you'd know what it was that's about. Print a greeting. ENDL, that's a line break, end line. Yeah, Baby Doll's right. In fact, I'm going to copy her code. She has got a prompt. So this is what a prompt means. You do an output that asks for input. So you're prompting the user to do something. You need to do something like enter a number. Need to declare, I'll declare one of them. Probably X is okay. Now in C++, I'll tell you this, I'm going to go over just a few minutes. It's not the best of ideas to just leave a variable like this dangling. If you've had the Go language, then you get away with this in Go, but in C++, the value of X right now is unknown. It's effectively garbage data, and so what you want to do when you create variables in C++ is give them an initial value, and 0 is good for integers as an example. There's two ways to do this. You could also write it this way without the equals. I like the way the parentheses version looks, but the point is when you declare variables, give them an initial value. It'll be somewhat random, so not 0, Baby Doll. If you don't give it an initial value, it's some random junk value. which often doesn't matter, but it will, if you're not in a habit, it will sneak up on you if you don't do that. So I recommend that you get in the habit. If you declare a variable in C++, give it a value. So there's x. So I'm going to prompt for an integer, and then I'm going to read it in. Probably someone knows how to do that. It's okay if you don't. There you go. So exactly right. Little peeper and ABB cube. That's exactly right. Use CN. So Cout is for output, Cin is for input. So what we mean by prompt for an integer is that we do an output that directs or prompts the user to perform an action, like enter something. And then what we do with reading an integer is that we capture the keyboard input into a variable. Now I'm just going to put a little testing, delete after testing. I'm just going to put this little testing thing in. So you entered x with an end line, ENDL, line break at the end. So I can see the number sort of reflected back out that they typed in. Then I'm going to click run and see if it's working. Okay, so the prompt is up here on the bottom. So basically, I usually click down here just to make sure that it's ready for me, but enter a number. There's 99 I entered, and then press enter, and the program will capture that input, and then it turns around and spits it back out. Oh, if you put end line in the prompt line. So let me run it again and I'll show you. Oh, by the way, in this console down here, oh no, that's fine. Let me run it again and just show you the difference. And this will be our closing thoughts. So notice here that the cursor is on the same line as the prompt, and when I type in a number like 42, it's on the same line as the prompt, which I think looks nice. Then you press enter, and so if I put an end line on the prompt, and run it, the cursor is on the next line down, and that's because we printed the prompt plus a line break. So the input is on the next line down, which I personally just think it looks less attractive, but that's just a personal thing. You may or may not agree, it's fine. So it doesn't hurt anybody, it just changes the way it looks when the program runs and the user interacts with it. Okay, so you can move this around, by the way. The rest of this program hopefully is relatively straightforward. It's all the same math that you should know from most languages. If you don't remember modulo, that would be good Google research. The Xi book talks about it. And I left a little question in here just to, if you don't know the answer right off, you might paste that into a Google search and see what you get. But also we can I can answer questions about that on Thursday. And then I left a little breadcrumb down here for you to experiment with and see what it does. If you change this 2 to other stuff, you'll see what's going on there. Okay, I need to stop. It is 7:05, so I'm a few minutes over my hour that I did. I'm going to leave this work that I did centered on the video. So that's it. That's our first live broadcast. The video will be made available later. I will fix the quiz and update your scores if you already took the quiz and got caught out by that. I'll fix that. I will remind you, but check the announcements. If you go to the home page for our class, there is an announcement about a drop-in, sort of a group discussion session on Zoom on Thursday morning from 11 to 12. So I'm not going to lecture and deliver new content. I would just be there so that you can drop in if you want to meet people, or if you have questions. That's an additional time where you can do that. Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you know how that goes with the tags in Twitch, but Sugam, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you, little peeper. Everybody who's here, I very much appreciate you joining me. This is a lot more fun if there's people that I know there's somebody out there listening. Hopefully, you got information that you can use. So what I'm about to do is end the broadcast, move this thing over to YouTube, get it loaded up for captioning, and then fix the quiz. So everybody take care. If I see you on Thursday, that's great. If not, hopefully I will see you again live at some point. Just watch the homepage and I'll make announcements and you'll see content get loaded up. Appreciate it. DJ, Tyler, thanks. Damien, Javier, thank you. Baby Doll, Daisuke, everybody, thank you. Appreciate it. Take care.